let's talk about the wide receivers, because this is where I think I'm going to catch. It's definitely going to be controversial to some degree. Now, not with Diontae Johnson. I'm right in line with the ADP. The ADP right now is wide receiver 22. I have him ranked at wide receiver 21. I think he's the safest Steelers wide receiver. He's still going to be the number one target in my eyes. Have him for 136 targets, 88 receptions, just over 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns. I really don't think he changes much from last year as far as his overall production goes. I really, really don't. It's the other guys that I'm a little further down on. Juju Smith-Schuster, ADP, wide receiver 31. I have him projected at wide receiver 35. I still believe he's the second targeted receiver on this team. I know some people want to say they think it's going to be Chase Claypool taking that step up. That's not his role in the offense. Schuster is still going to be the guy who slots in and out with Diontae Johnson as far as inside and outside. Claypool's still going to be the guy who's going to be the deep ball threat, the guy who stretches the field, who's going to line up on the outside and not get moved around a whole lot. And I don't think that, therefore, for that reason, just because Juju's on a 1-year contract coming back to Pittsburgh, I don't think that means he winds up being the second targeted wide receiver. And to top it off, I think we see some regression in touchdowns because of the switch a little bit to the rushing game. Right now, Chase Claypool, his ADP is wide receiver 29. I have him projected at wide receiver 50. I think we're going to see a sophomore regression as production goes out of a Chase Claypool this season, because I don't believe Ben Roethlisberger is going to be chucking the ball down the field as much. Kind of similar to what we saw. Now, Martavis Bryant had some other issues going on as well, but kind of similar to what we saw in Martavis Bryant, where you blow up, and then because you had that touchdown regression and your targets do not improve, because I don't think his targets are going to improve, therefore his yards are going to improve, he wound up taking a big drop, because that's what kept him fantasy relevant last year. It's why he was a fantasy star, because of those big play touchdowns and how many he got a season ago.
So I love Diontae Johnson. I think this guy would blow up to a true superstar this year and make a similar jump that Stephon Diggs had made in Minnesota, where he was pretty good running, pretty good receiver, and then all of a sudden he had that big jump. I think Diontae Johnson kind of profiles for me that. I think the drops will be addressed a lot, which he definitely had an issue with last year. I think that'll make him more effective and more utilized. I understand I do think Juju will be the second targeted receiver in this offense as well. I don't know how much better Juju does overall. I think Claypool, to me, his key is going to be how involved the tight end is going to be, how involved is James Washington going to be. I think Claypool can have really similar statistics, if not maybe improve a little bit from last year, and all three of these receivers can eat if they kind of do attrition by subtraction. If James Washington is going to continue to kind of steal some of his touches or some of his snaps, then it's going to be an issue for you. So I agree with you. He's not going to be the guy that he's going to be some regression in touchdown usage. But Ben does like to have this big receiver. Traditionally, he likes to throw up this big receiver. He utilized, Plexico Burris. He utilized Martavis Bryant. He has, this guy to me is an athletic monster in a lot of ways. So he's got some of that A.J. Brown aspect in him, where he just takes 2 catches and you can break one and it could be a big play for you. But I understand the concerns when it comes to overall volume. If James Washington is going to continue to be involved in this offense, and you're going to utilize Eric Ebron in their number 1 draft or their number 2 draft pick, Pat Vermouth at tight end, then there could be concern with what does Claypool actually finish. If he becomes that true number 3 utilized guy, I think all 3 of these guys can eat.
I mean, they all ate technically last year. Like, I know Juju, his name's not sexy. Everyone's very bored by Juju, but he still finished wide receiver 18 last year, as bored as you were. So you're still a wide receiver 2. Claypool in his own right finished as wide receiver 19. I'm with you on the James Washington thing too. It should be Chase Claypool, but we know there's been reports Ben Roethlisberger, for whatever reason, really loves James Washington and always is volleying for this guy to play. I mean, there was a point last year where that happened, and all of a sudden James Washington got on the field more the following week and took away from Chase Claypool. That happened during the year last year. There were 7 times Chase Claypool finished outside the top 36. And those are the games where he didn't hit the big play. And that's my concern. If the big play's not there, he bottoms out. And I don't know if there's as many big plays there this season, just from a natural regression of things. Not that he's going to be a worse receiver, but just from a production standpoint. I know a lot of people are going to disagree, obviously, because they have him as a wide receiver 3, and I'm telling you he's a wide receiver 5 for me. There's definitely that potential there because he has that ability. But I see a sophomore slump in store for Chase Claypool, and people are going to be surprised, I believe, that Juju Smith-Schuster is still going to be as involved as I have him projected out to be.